All right, now I'll start off with the one that was shared by Julian. I'll get Julian to talk us through it. Now, Frank, you had something to share as well. Martin, I believe you were going to.
I haven't prepared it, but I'll try and get my database on the screen while we're talking.
And if there's anybody else, just throw your hand up in the air or whatever. Personally, myself, I use Excel just because it's a good repository for stuff and you can find things, searches and whatever. But with a combination with my website, and that's a public-facing view of stuff that I've got. I might just bring that up first, just to show people what you can do these days with a website. Hang on, let me just make sure I've got the right things open. That's interesting. Zoom says that my web page is the Mineralogical Society of America. Monographs on 28 more pages. So
we're so impressed.
Have you been hacked?
Hacked.
No, I think it's just Zoom's got a bit confused. So you should be able to see a screen when I share it. So you can see the screen now. It's got about 8 different little thumbnails on it.
Yeah.
So each one of these is WordPress, which is pretty easy to develop and to use. The more you use it these days, the easier it seems to get. I know going back a few years when I took on maintaining the Ballarat Society of Artists webpage. Hang on, I just better check. So just making sure that if there's anybody comes in, I know about it. Yeah, the WordPress at that particular point in time, that was about probably 9 or 10 years ago, was really, really difficult to use and not very flexible. These days, you could do so much with it. So there are different ways that you can categorize individual posts. And one of those is tags, and the other one is by categories. So I actually have my locality set up as categories. So I can scroll through here and click on French Guiana, for instance, and it will pop up with 3 specimens that I've got from French Guiana. With the tags, we can do fluorite. There's 234 fluorites. Didn't know I had that many. Some of which I've actually got photos of, some of which I don't. But some of the things you can now do, if you look at this one, for instance, this fluorite here, we've got this ability, and Mindat has this capability as well, where you can actually look at 2 different views with a slider. So in this particular instance, it's obviously UV, long wave UV on one side and white light on the other. And then I also have a link through to Mindat, so you can see it in a higher resolution version. I've got a couple of Quinton in. I've got mineral index that I've set up as a page and a location index. Mineral maps is another good one. So if I look at the mineral index first, that one is just a list of tags, and then I can click on any one of those. Locations is generally by country. So all these different countries are represented in my collection. And again, you can just click on any one of those and you'll get the specimens that are on the website for that. Mineral maps is a useful one as well, where I can, so for Africa, for instance, the ones that are in yellow, I don't have a specimen from. And this is an interesting one for, so if we look at United States, for instance, I'm missing South Carolina, Mississippi, North Dakota, and tucked in there, Delaware. although it looks like I might get a Delaware one fairly soon, with a bit of luck. And so all of these, any with blue, you can click on and you'll get specimens for that particular country. And the yellow ones are the ones that are missing. So it's a good visual way of doing that. I have, for those of you that get my monthly mineral chronicles, you'll know that I have an elements collection. And this particular one here, I've got a periodic table here. And where there are links such as these, then that's a link to my element in the collection. So for hydrogen, obviously, I'm not going to bring up every single mineral that's got hydrogen in it because that's just going to give you too many. But I've got a vial of hydrogen in my element collection. If I click on that, then there's that's my hydrogen specimen. And I've also got this random post thing where it'll just pick something and bring it up. Now, that isn't my whole collection, but what it does do is it gives me a visual way of finding a lot of stuff. The other thing that I have is obviously Excel. And what I've tried to do with Excel is to put in information, even if I haven't catalogued it yet, formally catalogued, if you like. So what I have there is just a way of accessing something. If I'm looking for a particular specimen and it's not yet catalogued, at least I can see what box or drawer or whatever it's actually in. I can go and track it down. It's a bit more basic than what we're going to see next, which is going to be Julian's information. So I'll just...
The photographs you show are standalone on your website, are they?
Well, no.
Are they hyperlinked through to your Excel spreadsheet?
No, not quite. But what I'll do is I'll share what I do. So if I share, this is a view of my spreadsheet.
So Steve, you're just in WordPress?
Sorry?
You're doing this in WordPress?
In WordPress, that's all in WordPress. Yes.
Are the entries, are they a page, a post?
Posts.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, very straightforward. So in my Excel spreadsheet.
That's very clever, yeah.
Thank you. What I've started doing recently is having a thumbnail image included in my spreadsheet. So I have a column for it. And I showed a couple of the other guys this the other day. If you wanted, no, I haven't got one for this, but if you wanted a thumbnail in there, all you've got to do is go to Insert, Pictures, this device, and
A bit like PowerPoint.
Yeah, it's a little bit that way.
Yeah, the same procedure basically, isn't it?
Yeah. So in here, I've got a whole load of thumbnails, and you can see there, I hope you can see, that they're only 150 pixels in width. So I can pick, like, this isn't the right one, and then all I do there is just, resize it so it fits in the box. And because of the way that the settings are for that particular picture, it will follow me in the spreadsheet.
So do you format that column for images, do you, or for?
Nope. There's a format.
I tried to do the same thing in Google Sheets, and it didn't work anywhere near as nicely.
Yeah, this is really good. Let's see if I can find where that. I think it's in the properties.
You've got my head buzzing already.
You've got to get these properties set right. So moved, but don't size with cells, and locked, I think, are the two important ones. And it will keep it. Now, the only thing is, if I do, let's say I drill down on, let's say, wolfenite, for instance, you'll see that there's some here that are not wolfenites. Oh. And what it does when you're actually doing, sorry, somebody else coming in. Richard's coming. All right.
Hey.
It hasn't actually buggered those up. So they're still there in the right place. And when I actually unfilter.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't follow the filter, it follows the actual place.
They're where they should be. Now, I'm just going to close that. Actually, I'll stop share first. I'll close that so I don't save it because it's not the right thing. Just to get it out of the way. Now, what I actually use for that to create the thumbnails, I'll bring up. Let me see. What have we got here? Sorry, bear with for a second. Just find something to. Okay, so I'll just reshare now with this one. So in here, this is just a folder, an Explorer view of where I've got photos stored, and you can see here, for instance, that that these are 2000 pixels by 1333, whatever. So they're larger files. And then my edited version. Now, all I have to do for any one of these to create the thumbnail, and I generally store it in a separate folder, is I right click and I say open with, and there's a program called Easy Thumbnails. And when I click on that, it creates a thumbnail. Now I've got it set up so it just puts it into the current folder, but you can have it go to any folder you like. And that's the one there. If you look at that, that's only 150 by 100. That's the one that I put into Excel. So Excel doesn't get exploded too much in terms of size.
Oh, it will eventually.
Eventually, but it's not significant.
That's very good. Very good.
It's not like sticking a 5 megapixel photo in. So
I have another way of putting this in, but it says a comment, and it does not take us half as much of space as it should. But it's much more trouble to get it right.
Yeah.
So
well, you can see how quick that was. I mean, that's just so easy. So as I'm cataloging, when I photograph something, I can actually do that as I go. It's really quite useful that way. All right. Now, what I might do now is I'll just share the screen for Julian. So I'll just share the PDF that he has sent. If you can see that.
Yep.
All right. So Julian, if you want to just walk us through, and I'll just scroll down as needed.
Okay. Yeah, this is a document that I knocked out after I found out that we were going to be talking about cataloging. I did this, and I've got the first page of this is really just me
Yes, can I call?
We've lost Julian.
preaching to the converted here about the importance of the catalog. In the document, I've got a list of suggested fields. It's a combination of fields that are listed in a book by Jean Demuth and in things that I've observed through cataloging through museums. And it's sort of I think a pretty exhaustive list of potential fields that you might want to consider if you're building a database. And my personal database is in Excel. I've used commercial software and none of them are perfect. And they're all quite cumbersome, and you have to generally find a workaround for some field. The first professional catalog that I used was actually developed for managing collections at history museums. So we had to really work hard to fit in a mineral specimen into a history museum database. Anyway, I do show at the bottom of the first page the citation for that book, which is the Care and Documentation of Mineral Collections. It's $30 US for that publication. It's available through the Mineralogical Society of America, and I listed the URL where you can order it there. So highly recommend that you have a copy of that. The next page, if we go down, are just some definitions. So things related to cataloging.
We lost Julian again.
The museum curators call the process of cataloging accessioning or accession, and we attach a catalog number. One thing that I was recently caution about in private collections is don't just number your specimens consecutively. You don't have to develop some complicated numbering system. You can just number them 1, 2, 3, and so on. But you should put some identifier in front of it. So for instance, my collection is JCG 0001, 0002, so on. That way, if your collection, when you give your collection away, sell it, whatever, if a museum ends up with 3 or 4 collections, they don't have 3 or 4 specimens that are numbered 0001 and so forth. So it gives some other unique identifier to that. Then you have to come up with a way of attaching the number to the specimen. And with micromounts, we have a unique problem. We can't really paint on the back of the number or glue a label onto the specimen itself. We glue it on the box, and if it's paper, we hope that that'll stay on forever. But often that doesn't. So take that into consideration. And then, of course, the catalog itself. What is, the catalog? Most of us have electronic databases like Excel or Access or FileMaker or some other relational database program, which I think is fantastic. I think Steve's approach of doing a catalog in a Word in a website through WordPress is very creative. I like that. But also, you should have a print version of your catalog. Electronics do fail, even if you back it up. It's nice to have a print version, and it may be as simple as just hitting print on your Excel sheet every now and then, or you can just update print only the new things that you've cataloged recently. Locality and location are 2 different things. Locality is actually where the sample was found. So get as specific as you can. Location is actually where the specimen is located. So, we say it's in, cabinet 13, which drawer, which shelf it's on, which box it's in, and things like that. That is the location so that you can find it. So you need 2 different fields in your database. One that tells you where it came from, and then one, where is it now, so that you can find it. After you get tens of thousands of specimens, then you need to be able to track it down. What else? There was something else I wanted to say about location or locality. Oh yes, that locality is the one most important bit of information that needs to stay with the specimen. Almost every presentation we've heard in these Zoom meetings, someone has said, "Oh, this has been analyzed by somebody and it's been reclassified. We found out it was the wrong name, or it was a mixture of things, whatever." The identity can change. So it doesn't matter if you forget what it is. You can also re-identify it. You can all of that, but you cannot recreate that locality once you've lost that information. That's one of the most important pieces of information. So deaccessioning, this is the process of taking things out of your collection that are redundant, that have been damaged. Sometimes you need to upgrade your collection, so there are many reasons for deaccessioning, and I like to compare that to pruning in your garden. You remove all the unwanted material, and your garden is better for that. It's the same with a mineral collection or any other collection. So periodically consider that. And then the last thing is, I don't have a field for things like property, but some collectors have sub collections like luminescent minerals, things like that. So that's another field that you might want to consider. And of course, photographs are important. And then the last page and a half is a list of I've grouped these by category, and then listed the field and then have some notes or description of what those fields are about. So the first category is accession. So that's things like a catalog number. In my personal collection, I put a quality filter so that I can find my better specimens or sort for deaccession. I'm getting a message. My connection is unstable, so I hope this is coming through.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Okay. Specimen data, all that information about what it is and its accessory minerals and locality information. So all of that is pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, so I just I put that together, and I hope you find that useful. And if you have any feedback for me, my email address is on the first page. So that's all I wanted to share with you.
Excellent, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, as I said, I'll share that PDF around with everybody.
Great.
Afterwards. But yeah, there's some good stuff in there, definitely.
One of the things that occurred to me very early on in thinking about cataloging my collection was the problem with attaching labels to specimens so that they tie back to your catalog. And I decided that photographs were my solution to that problem, because if I've got a photograph of the specimen, even if I lose that specimen and then find it later on, I can at least visually go back through my collection of photographs and go, that's that one there.
Yeah.
So that's my second most valuable field, is a photograph of the specimen.
Yeah, excellent point. Yeah.
All right, Frank, do you want to maybe
Yes, please.
share your screen?
I share screen. Did it come up?
Yep, that's good.
Yeah, but probably just, you see now my presentation not started yet. Oh, yep.
Yep.
It's fine now.
It is.
Okay. Well, I can relate to what Julian has said about cataloging. There is no wrong or right way to do it. It's everybody's choice, and it depends on what you do with your collection or how you set up your collection. I'm a systematic collector by heart. I started when I was 12, and I got hold of a book of this man, Carl Hugo Strunz. It was a mineralogical table from 1966. It's not a nice book to read, but has a lot of information. The Strunz classification contains, he divided the minerals, the classification of minerals, into chemical composition, and he created 9 groups. I listed them on the left. I will not bother you with others, but that was my start point for my collection cataloging. And I started, as usual, normal people do, in Excel, and I created a tab for each of the groups: elements, sulfides, halides, oxides, and so on and so on. And I copied all the tables with the numbers the Strunz gave them. So before you see here, I highlighted one, 8F0810, which is glaucophane. It is in Dutch, sorry. And I attached a number of my own to it, 3648. And in my Excel sheet, I also posted how many specimens I have of the mineral and what it's worth, what I paid for it. After that, I decided to build a database, an Access database. I did that around 10 years ago. You have to think it through, what you want to do with a database and what fields you want to have in it. So you start with a table, and the table contains of subtables where you make the linkage and the relations, and then you present a form. This is what I have here in front of me. It's a form for a record, and the record is one specimen. It contains of the information of the glaucophane, the number I gave to it, the relation I made with the Strunz, but also with nickel Strunz, Dana, and with high SIMREF, the chemical formula, a picture, and a small description. The picture, if you double click on the picture in my database, oh, I'm going to snap fast. You get a box. It's an attachment in Access, and if you click on the attachment, double click on it, you get a larger picture of the sample. To keep the numbering, I gave it a unique number. 3648 is the first specimen. 01 is the first specimen of my glaucophanes, and I put that on my box. Well, I'm not sure how long that will hold, but if you store it dry, it takes a while before it goes up. The other part you said about the locality, that is almost as important as the number. And I tried to be as specific as possible. So this comes from France. It is the Mine Laclacie, Saint-Véran, in the Haute Alps, the Provence-Alpes, Côte d'Azur. I have the geographical coordinates over here, a picture of the quarry, of the mine in this case, and a small description of what it is. It's a native copper and bornite mineralization at the contact of serpentinites and calcareous schists. So you can always look back at, it is in one record. It comes from different tables, but it's in one record. Take it a step further, the third program I use is Google Earth. You can store a lot of information in Google Earth, as long as you store it. So I go to the box on the upper left and type in the geographical coordinates, and then it takes me to that coordinates, and I can put in a pin. But the pin you can customize. You can customize it as mine or as whatever you want, a point of interest, and it has properties, and you can fill in these properties. So I did, and I put in one. I just have one mineral from that locality, Mine Laclacie. It's glaucophane, and the property box looks like this. It has the information about the coordinates, the name, but you can do much more than that. You can attach photographs, you can attach text, height, altitude data, and so on. But you have to store it afterwards if you put it in. Numbering. This is a bad example because it's actually miniature, but you see I've got a Galena specimen I acquired 2 weeks ago. I put the number on the lower side of the box, and on the other side the date of purchase, and underneath the locality information and the dealer whom I got it from. Another, Paul mentioned the pictures. I arranged my pictures in my on my computer the same way as Strunz categorizes. So I have elements, sulfides, and so on and so on. Well, I just showed you a Galena piece, so it's sulfides. So you click on the sulfides folder, you get the sulfides from A to Z. Now Galena starts with a G, so you double click the G, and you see in the upper left hand, you see another folder, because I have more than 20 specimens of Galena, and then they get a folder of their own. So if you double click that, you get all my Galena specimens. Sometimes I have multiple of the same, but in different sizes. And they get then a number. I can show you here, but they get an extension number, and I know which size it is. And eventually, when you click on the specimen, it's the Galena specimen, of which I just showed you the box. About storage, I've got a cabinet full of drawers, all plastic stacked ones, and I number them again according to Strunz. Like on the right hand side, you see the borates. I have the borates from A to O, and the next drawer will be the borates from P to Z. I have to tell you that this is only the micros. I have a different system for larger specimens, obviously, but one of these drawers hold 96 specimens, so you can get a lot of them. That was my part.
Thanks very
Stop
much.
sharing.
Thank you.
So one of the things that you do, and I know a number of other people that also do very similar things, is you group things by a particular classification. And
yeah.
for
I made
me,
it from the start. I started with strunts.
yes, for me that doesn't work when you've got a specimen that has multiple species that are from different classifications.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a malachite and cuprite, do you put it in the carbonates or the oxides? So what I tend to do is go generally by my catalogue number. So you can see over that side, there's some drawers, and they will have the top drawer over my right shoulder. So that one there, the top drawer in there has capacity to hold about 750 micros, and it starts at number 1 and just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the way that I prefer to do it. But as I said, I do know other people that do it a similar way to you as well.
You know, like I said, there's no right or wrong, actually.
Agreed. It's what you
But
come.
I always keep the same number for my photos, for my boxes, and for my entries in my database. Yep. It's all the same.
Oh, that's good. All right. Any questions of Frank before we move to maybe Martin?
Oh, I can tell. I can fill a whole hour with my database, so no problems.
I'm not even sure if mine's going to work. Yeah, mine might be a failure.
There's no such thing.
I may have to come back to you on this one later on with a bit more professional work done on it, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, one of the questions I've got is one of the things I find bugs me is my spelling's terrible. So I keep misspelling place names and mineral names, and they skip by me, and then I notice them later and have to go back and correct everything. Where do you get your list of like names for minerals? And because that's the advantage of the database. So
no, I normally I go firstly in what it says on the box. When I buy it, or when I find it, I'll put it in myself, and I know the place name. But that it is a help.
Yes.
And on localities, it's not always correct, but 99 times out of 100. So that's good.
And there is an official book from the International Mineralogical Association, which is called Mineral Names or something.
Yep.
And if you go to the website of the Mineralogical Record, that's where you can find it, I think.
Yep.
Yes. Is that available in a form that's easily?
What Quentin's got, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a book.
On the rough website, there's on the rough website
Quentin.
we have.
No, Quentin just held up a book that gives you all the correct spellings.
Fleischer,
The Fleischer.
There's a new volume just came out, Fleischer 2022. You can get it at least in the Canadian system. I don't know about the others.
Okay.
Got mine through
the Mineralogical Association of Canada will sell it to you.
Jim?
Yeah, if you want a electronic copy of the IMA approved minerals list, it's available on the rough website. To download with or without the chemical formulas and all of the other things that we use.
That's exactly what I was after. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a bit even better. Yeah.
Yeah.
What you have to do though is go in, it doesn't have any group names in it.
No.
So
that's fine.
You have to go back and create your own group names. I just use double apostrophe.
I think one of the 10 copies of Fleischer's got all group names in it.
Yeah. But I just add those, and then I use a lookup field so that when you start typing a name in, it looks in that lookup table for that type of thing. If it's species, I'm using the IMA list, and so it continues to fill with you so that you get it spelled right.
Yeah, but if you go to the IMA website, you can go to the IMA list of minerals. They change it twice a year, and then you can, if you just type in Control F, you can search for a mineral you want, And if you just are half right, it will take you to the mineral.
Yeah, I think the update's 4 times a year too, Frank.
Well, 4 times a year, yeah.
Yep.
At least 2 times, I know. But
The good thing with that one as well is that they actually highlight the entries that have changed since the previous one. So you can look for yellow or red highlights.
Mhm.
Okay.
You want me to try this?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Can't see it at the moment. Can't see where it's put itself. No. Oh, there we go. Down there. Right. I don't know what I can do with it. I haven't even tried this one to see if it works by scrolling through. But basically, I started to build this catalogue at the beginning of the 1970s, when we had no computers and no other way of doing it. So I started with one. I did change it a few years later in about 1979 when I got hold of that was a friend of mine who was working with fossils, devised a system of using these codes, the site codes, to define different layers in the strata when he was finding fossils. So I adapted it for my minerals. So each location of mine has got its own site code, which links back to the same code on the mineral specimen. I use 3 different tables. This is the main catalogue, which you got on the screen now. And within that, I can search anywhere I want for anything by just simply clicking on something like that and clicking up there, and then that brings up all the American ones. So there I've got 316 locations in America, and in this particular version of the database, you can actually click on one of these things, and that should give me a link to my main catalogue. Where you'll see. So what I've got, so the second one is the description, and the third one is the main catalogue. I'll go into the main catalogue and we'll see if that'll work. This is the bit I'm not too sure about whether it'll actually come through on the screen or not. I might have to go out and come in again. No, it's not live. Okay, let's come back to this one. Can't see what I'm doing now. Come there. Are you seeing this? Is anything?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Okay. It's not going to let me. Oh, no, I don't want to save nothing. Let's go into this one now. Ah, there we go. That's the main catalogue starting at #1. So this is basically, this is my main data entry location. As you'll see at the bottom down, it's now on just coming up to 17,500. And I find this system quicker than using Excel. I have got an Excel version. I do keep a backup copy in Excel every year or so, but it's just such a big file, and I find this is so easy to manipulate my way around. So you see, I got the code which links to the catalogue, my accession number, the specimen code. These changed halfway through my collecting to just single numbers in this box. What the specimen is, the year I acquired it, how I acquired it, the price I paid for it, which is not very much. I haven't bought very many. The notional value is what I reckon it's worth for insurance purposes. If ever I have to, if my estate ever comes up when I kick the bucket, and they want to try and add this to my estate, that's the notional value that I put on everything. It's basically the size of the box. So a £2 specimen is a 2-inch box, and so on. The ones that got the asterisks beside them are specimens that are worth considerably more than what I've got in that box there. These are the tray numbers they're in, and this is just a filter system to try and filter out the better specimens. I'm not sure what I've got on the rest of this one. Still, I can go along. Yeah, so I've got some that I've got photographed that don't work. The link didn't work very well, and that's the basic description of what the mineral is. I've done about 5,000-6,000 of these, but I've got loads more to do yet. But so that's pretty much what that box or what that one is. But the one I like to use quite a bit is down in this one, which is in the form view.
Yeah.
And it's this one here, which gives me like a card index. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's basically got all the information that I need to see. And in this, I can then also do, I can edit and add the data in. So it's basically the same thing at the top there, where it's from, what it is, where I got it, when I got it. And I wouldn't bother getting that up now, but I've actually got a photographic folder which mirrors this this file, but in 1,000 sections, and the photographs are all stored in there. So I get a photograph, it goes into there, and I haven't found a way yet of connecting them through. I did put in a photographic field into the database for this one, but I don't know, it just wouldn't work properly. And I don't know enough about computers to be able to work my way through that one. So at the moment, I've not done much about that. But this suits me anyway. It's all the information is there. So what goes on the box is that location, and that's basically all I put on the label in the box. But I do label the top or the inside of the box, the lid, and on the base with a corresponding label. So if they do get separated, they can be put back together again. That's about it, really. I don't know. Can't say a lot more about that.
Yeah, that's a very important point you made there too, Martin. I remember a few years ago, Rod Martin in New Zealand had a tray full of micros that he dropped, and lids and bases came apart, and he only had the details on the lid and the specimens on the bases. So what I tend to do now is, I don't think I've got one here, but I just put at least the number, if nothing else, on the base of the underneath the base of the box.
That's the other field which has just got the accession number of the relationship is through the accession number on this one, and it just got in there how I acquired it basically, and that's all linked through on the other file. But I'll come at that now anyway. Just shut some of these down.
I have to say, I much prefer databases to spreadsheets for a whole host of reasons.
Me too.
But the disadvantage with databases is like a spreadsheet is very easy to import into somebody else's platform. Databases take more work because you have to translate your field into somebody else's field and filter.
I'm trying for 2 years now to find an emulator to open the site on Google Maps of Google Earth from my Access database. I'm still not there yet. So
yeah.
All right. Well, when you find out, let us all know.
Yeah, I will. No worries.
Yeah.
It takes a fair bit of programming, I can tell you.
Paul. You're looking like Blofeld there, Paul.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you all store your databases in terms of backup copies?
Oh, I've got about, well, each time I do a new entry of say 20, 30 pieces, I'll then save that to an external hard drive, which then goes through to cloud. And I've got about 3 different cloud accounts, which holds a copy of,
That's a really
because
good question.
It's going to be really important when your collection is dispersed, and this is a problem that I encountered a few times, where in these cases they were done as book entries, because they were old collections, and the books got split up, but they didn't get split up necessarily with the specimens that went to various individuals. And eventually some of those books got tossed. So again, because you had people passing and so catalogs are wonderful, And I had a marvelous one that I worked up in WordPerfect and created with merge file capabilities and photo links that I started. And we had a really bad surge. And all I had was some older discs. And thank God I had one old computer that could still take the older discs.
Yeah.
But all the entries past that point were lost. So all I try and do now is have location. As I'm redoing my entire collection and reorganizing it, preparing for its eventual dispersal, I am organizing it by location. Because to my way of thinking, that is the only important thing to have with it. And when it comes with micro boxes, I see so many of them with information bottom, information top, whatever, or information loose. Inside, on the wall of the box, or on the base of the box, yes, it's not that attractive, but you can always cover it with a bit of white if you're going to photograph. I put the location and I use archival labels for it.
Yeah.
So that no matter where this gets mixed up, no matter what kind of dealer's drawer it eventually gets into, where everything is higgledy-piggledy, as long as it's somehow fixed in that box, you've got a chance of getting at least your rudimentary information from it.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, I think that it, in terms of looking well ahead, these are wonderful catalogs. These are fantastic, and they're fantastic to work with your collection. But in terms of preparing for your collection's dispersal, they're actually a problem.
Yeah.
So
Every one of my specimens has got at least a label on the inside, the back wall of on the inside of the lid, and another label on the base of the specimen. And I am actually now in the process of doing it all, putting a label on the top, which tells the viewer which drawer it comes from, which position in the drawer it is as well. But that's I've got about 12,000 of those to do. It's taken a long while to do that in. So I do a little bit every now and again, and that's another row done. I'll leave it at that. But
yeah, it's
The
a
last
slow
four-
process.
the big
The last
problem I
four
did.
collection. Sorry, Martin, carry on.
No, I was going to say that the big problem is with printing something off like that. That index card type thing you saw was my intention initially, was to print them off. But when I got to start putting them into trays, and I had nowhere to put the trays they were going to go in. You can imagine 17,000 sheets of paper is quite a lot of quires of paper, and it's just not really. So to me, an electronic database is okay. If anything does happen to that, the boxes have all got information in them with enough information to get it back to a location and a specimen.
Yeah,
Or what
and
I think
that's the
specimen is.
essential thing.
Yeah.
And with larger specimens, I don't put a number on them. I put the location on them.
Yeah.
And I actually been creating my newer labels with pencil, which I then seal in.
Yeah.
Simply because it's not always easy to get small enough with inks, and at the moment the printer I have is no longer the one I used to have, which gave me a really, really, really tiny, very, very clean print. I'm not finding the newer printers I've been getting are doing as good a job. So
Well,
I've
gone
gone back to doing it by hand.
No, I bought one of these little brother printers, which you can set up a database in that of locations and just print your labels off from that. And that's a heat produced ink. Well, I don't know what the process is, but it comes out of the end of the machine and the label fits in the top of the box nicely.
But what's your smallest print size that you can get on it? I could get a 4 on the old.
I can get 2 or 3 on it by reducing it down.
That's good. And it's a
I can't see it.
broader?
I can't see it these days, but
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to be looking anyways for a new printer, but that's been a problem because when I put it under the scope, I'm finding it's not giving me as sharp a print as I used to get with my
All right,
older
okay.
printer. Yeah. So, okay, I just have to keep looking.
One of the issues with the thermal labels generally, Martin, is that they don't necessarily last. They fade fairly quickly
Right.
over time.
Pencil's really good.
well,
Sorry,
I've
Paul.
got a feeling that mine will outlast me anyway.
When-
Graphite tends to last.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you use the right hardness of pencil, you get a really good imprint on the paper.
Yeah.
And if, especially with micros where you're putting it under the microscope, it's amazing how much you can still read on some of those. I have a couple that are 100 years old and they were done in pencil and I can read them.
My biggest problem.
Whereas some of the ink has gotten a bit weird. So
One of the big problems is now they keep finding these new minerals, and if we actually get them in our collections, the names are so long, I can't even fit them on the label. So
my biggest problem,
there's no way I can write a specimen out with my handwriting. It would be terrible. So
yeah,
Soon to me.
I did that years ago, and I abandoned that. I mean, Dick is the one. He's got 25, 30,000 specimens. None of them are catalogued, but they're all sitting on a little bit of black card with the name and the location written on in it in white ink. So he hasn't catalogued them, but they can, at least you know where the stuff has come from. And he's got thousands and thousands of them. And yeah,
Paul?
I was just going to say my biggest problem is my handwriting.
Yeah.
I can read it.
And not
but-
only yours.
Yeah.
I can't read my own, so
Yeah.
No.
but it's so pretty when you get those really old labels and you've
Yeah,
got
very nice.
wonderful swirls and you have to then go, but what does it mean? Pretty.
Just very quickly as an aside, this is the IMA listing. So I'll share the link as well. And here's an example of where that's a new entry for this particular one, which was March of this year. So they're highlighted in yellow, so you can very quickly go through and find, whoop, there's another one, find what's changed if you're keeping track of things in your own collection. And if they've discredited something, then it's shown in red.
It doesn't only show new ones, it also shows changes in chemistry or whatever.
Yeah, it shows
I
you.
always check it.
That's right.
And if there's a change in the chemical formula, then only that particular cell will be highlighted. So yes, it's very good.
Okay.
You just have to remember to look at it. Oh, Christina's just joining us, so she probably got the time zone wrong.
Yeah.
Oops.
One thing I found important was that when you have old labels, in order to keep the numbers from fading or whatever, I always use pencil on the label, on the old labels, and at least a number in pencil on the specimen box or the specimen. And I glue very small 6-point or 4-point numbers onto the specimens themselves, so that you can have a specimen that has a number, the box has a number, the old labels have a number. And I found that pencil is very important to use because in the heat of Arizona, many inks fade within a few years.
Yeah. Light, sun, everything, it doesn't matter. It fades.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about pencil. Just get the right hardness and the right point, fineness, and you're good to go.
What is the right hardness, Liz?
Actually, I use HB, but I use a very fine point HB because that gives you a good dark mark. And with the fine point, and you have to keep it fine. I mean, that is the one thing. I don't use a regular pencil. I use the automatic pencils, right, with the leads. I don't use one where you constantly have to use your pencil sharpener. But if I'm not getting as clean a line as I want, of course, I just play around with the lead until I get a point that gives me exactly what I want for that particular notation. So, but I worked with cataloging our special collections in the University of Toronto Music Library, and I was dealing with special collections are rare books that aren't quite in the rare book category. It isn't a question of age or even rarity. It's very often a question of importance. So if there were any marks to be done, it would always be done in pencil, right? But in the end, we wanted a soft lead so you didn't damage the actual paper. In some cases, of course, we inserted a sheet with all the information rather than write on the item itself. But anyways, for what it's worth, there's nothing beats graphite, in my opinion. The other thing about inks, and this came up with a lot of the stuff that I worked with, coloring in inks, in the older ones particularly, used things that were in themselves would disintegrate. Coal, for example, was used a lot to create black in leather. And that's one reason you will see old leather, for example, just turned powder and then mark everything nearby it. And then, of course, brown is the iron oxide. So, you know, all these things, but so did the inks. So you have all these weird things that you deal with when you're actually dealing with your object. This isn't the catalog per se, but it's how you get the catalog information linked in a concrete fashion to your actual specimen. So that once, even if you don't have the catalog anymore, you still have some valuable information with your specimen. Anyways,
yeah,
I'll shut up. Thank you.
in terms of electronic records and electronic photographs, it's going to become increasingly a problem. So I use Google Sheets specifically because it's stored in the cloud.
Yeah, I stored it in the cloud.
I've basically shuffled off the risk of losing that catalog to people who are very good at keeping things secure and available. But eventually Google will no longer exist. So at some point in the distant future, somebody is going to have to take that information and put it into whatever new form it needs to be in. I'm actually more worried about my photos. My photos are stored in my NAS, and there's a backup of them in another storage area. But other than that, if this place burns down, I've lost everything.
I've started to move mine on to Amazon. I've got a Prime account, and I put it on Amazon Prime. Unlimited photographs, and I got 23,500 on so far. But the same to go on, I think.
So the question I've got there is, in terms of longevity, who takes that account over when you no longer have access to that account? When you're,
I would imagine it just dies with you, I think, or it stops when you stop, I think, probably. If I start paying my subscription, I should probably lose the facility.
Sure,
but
of course.
That's right.
Check some of the sites that have estate logins. So when you die, you can put it in your will that they have access to it. There's quite a few people are doing that.
But it's something.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I mean, this is classic human behavior. We think about our own timeframes. If we're really serious about the stuff we're doing as a catalog being a valuable resource for the future, which it may be, it may not. But if we want to consider that, then we have to think a little bit bigger than our own lifetimes and our own use. And that gets difficult.
My biggest problem is sorry, I've heard that Microsoft are thinking of taking access off the package.
Yeah.
So I might have to go over to Excel in the end of the day and do it through that. So, but we'll see.
I've still got access on mine.
Yeah, it still is there, but they're thinking about shutting the program down. Access.
Yeah,
It's
that's
too,
what I
difficult to
heard.
upkeep.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about Access. I know nothing about Excel.
Excel's easier.
I can't do anything in Excel that I can do in Access because I have not a clue how to do any of it. I've never used it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I use
spreadsheet
Excel a lot.
database.
I use spreadsheets a lot. It's quite
Actually,
useful.
you can export your database into an Excel.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just one click and it's done. Yeah.
Yeah.
The trouble is you got to keep doing it every time you put a new specimen. You got to create a new database to keep up to date because it's very hard to put in. You can insert into it, but it's a lot of rigmarole, and you lose fields and lose rows and columns.
VBA is not the same.
I've been using Mindats, so my Access catalog is about 4 years behind, but I have downloaded the CSV file of the Mindat catalog and converted to an Excel workbook, but I haven't figured out how to do the things that I want to do with it. Like in my Access, I've got a list of all the valid minerals at the time it was put together, and I can click on there's the main species on, and then there's about 8 spots for others, and you can click on the species tag next to the blank, start typing, and it'll fill it in. I don't know how to do that in Access. Not a clue.
No, it does it in Excel, but not Access. It won't do it. It might do it. I haven't found that one yet.
It works. I've got it in Access, but I don't have a clue how to do the same thing in Excel.
Why I like Access so much, you can by having a relational database.
Yeah.
And having all my relevant tables linked together through the relationships.
Well, I've got that in Access.
Yeah.
But when I download the Mindat catalog and convert it to an Excel workbook, I don't know how to do the same thing in Excel that I can do in Access. I don't have a clue.
So I wouldn't necessarily think that. I mean, you can use Excel as a database, but that's not really what it's built for.
No, it's a number cruncher.
So if you're going from Access to another application, you'd be looking at ideally going to another database application, like MySQL or SQL Server or something like that.
At this point, I would like to make a comment too. I use an online database. It's called Airtable, and I can recommend that to everyone. So if you want to have a look there, just do that at airtable.com. It's all online, it's all in the cloud, and I can even give any of you access to my database if anyone would like that. So you can take a look, but it's a very handy and a very good online database. So you have no trouble with anything like storage or backups or whatever. It's all been taken care of.
What's
and
it
it's
called?
A relational database. Ed, I can share my screen just a moment.
Yep.
I can share my screen now. Okay. There we go. I think which one? I didn't do this before.
On the iPad.
No, it's yeah, I'm on the iPad. No, forget it. Let me see. iCloud.
Worst case, put a link in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wrong. Try it again. Wait. Share content. Website URL. Okay. Airtable.
So in the meantime, in order to translate from one database format to another, there's a thing called database schemas.
Ah,
Airtable.
right.
Airtable, that's called.
I thought Airtable.
Wait.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Well, I can sign in, but just take a look at that. Look there. Wait.
Yeah.
Sign in with Google. Oh my goodness. This is on an iPad, so
Yeah.
no, forget it. I'll do it next time. I'll send all of you a message to Messenger, and then you can take a look for yourself. Okay?
Okay, thank
Because
you.
this is
Oh,
too
thanks.
on an iPad. This is too complicated. I'm sorry. Stop
All right.
share. I'm back again here. Okay. Air
Thank you.
table. Okay.
Airtable. I thought he said ad table.
Yeah.
Airtable.com. No,
Airtable. Okay.
yeah.
I have a real problem using a spreadsheet for this kind of thing because it is so easy to not select all the columns and sort on something, and you have no way to go back.
Yeah, you've got to be careful.
Yep, been there, done that, got
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I use FileMaker Pro. The Pro database works very well.
Mhm. I tried that.
Years ago, I used to use Fox Pro, which was real good until Microsoft bought it.
Became vaporware.
Remember
Well, I
the
created
DBase 3 Plus
everything with
days.
WordPerfect, and it was fantastic. But then, of course, it got bought out by Microsoft too. So,
It's just
anyways,
the thing with IT though, it's never going to stand still. And one of the lessons learned about curating data is that if it isn't used, it will eventually disintegrate and disappear. So if you have your favorite database platform or your favorite spreadsheet platform or your favorite way of doing your catalog, and say Microsoft pulls production of Access, you've got to change. You can't stay with the unsupported product anymore if you want that data to survive. And that's painful because you've now got to translate all this careful work you've done over many years, most of which you've forgotten what you did and why you did it, into a new platform that you're not familiar with. And it takes effort.
That was one of my problems, Paul, when 2-3 years ago, when Microsoft suddenly stopped the old versions and come up with this 365 thing.
Yep.
It's not backwards compatible. So I've got lots of versions of old databases that I've used over the years that I can't open through the new 365 version.
Correct.
I've got one old Windows 7 little tiny notebook where I've got I can actually put anything onto that and convert that into the right format for it to then operate in 365. But it's just not backwards compatible. So if anything does change, I'm totally screwed. I know one thing. I shan't. If it does go and it crashes, I shan't bother to do it again. I should just let Richard sort out when he gets hold of my collection. He can sort it out himself.
well, that's the point I'm at. I'm not going to go through all that detail again.
How much do you like your children?
Actually, they're all prepared. They've gone and looked at all my collection, and they're all ready to get to handle it. But then, of course, they also enjoy minerals. So that's the biggest. If you've got someone that is going to be dealing with your estate that actually has some idea of what you've been doing, it's a real plus. So one person I know actually has designated that a younger mineral collector will be working with their executor. Already they've designated that so that when the collection gets dispersed, it gets dispersed in the most useful and coherent way, instead of just, oh, okay, we can't keep any more of these boxes, and it just sort of goes, right? So anyways, this is where this whole idea, we're working with the cataloging. We really have two different issues here. It's the collector and how they organize their collection and how they access their collection. And then there is the collection when you're no longer here. And that's a completely different subject, really. But some of that is dependent on how you actually handle your collection right now. And we talked about graphite versus ink. Digital data decays. And people say to me, oh, I've transferred everything to this archival, you know, CDs or this or that. Digital data decays.
Does.
So whatever you're doing today, it's not going to last 100 years.
Nope.
No, it's not even going to last 10 years.
That's all.
No, I
Some of the stuff, yeah, some of the stuff people think would have lasted. We had CDs that were going within 20 years.
Yeah.
To the point where they're totally useless. And these were considered to be archival recordings of music. And
I
we
had a
just went,
situation a couple of years ago where I heard a song on the radio and I thought, I haven't heard that song in ages. I've got that CD, I'll dig it out. So I went through my CD collection and I ended up with a stack of about 80 CDs to start listening to because I hadn't listened to them in ages. And then I realized I didn't have a CD player in the house.
Yeah.
You know what? I dug out the ghetto box at the cottage so I could listen to my cassette tapes.
Yeah.
So
I think I've got a cassette player in the car.
Yeah, the next job then is to find some way of actually digitizing and sticking on something like this.
Yeah.
Now it'll be on the one.
That's exactly what I did when I built a computer and digitized everything, basically. Yeah.
They get corrupted, don't they? I mean, I've got a digital camera that works perfectly on an 8 gigabyte compact SD card. I didn't know, being a total knobhead, but they actually changed. You can't now buy anything bigger than 2 gigabyte to go in a camera. They're all these super HD, and 8 gigabyte is the basic level, and that all comes with 4K video, but you can't run still pictures on. So
yep.
It's crazy. So anyone wants 2 8 gigabyte discs? I got them here doing nothing.
Yeah, they're too small. Can't use them.
No.
Well, you know, that's why the LP has had such a terrific comeback, because it is good. A well-made LP is an absolutely phenomenal bit of engineering. I don't know if we'll ever get to something that will store in such an indestructible or a virtually indestructible form, provided you don't abuse it, for pictures, because pictures, however they're done, are so vulnerable. So all these wonderful digital photos, they are slowly deteriorating as well. And it would be really nice if you know, technology came up with some way of storing images that doesn't decay in that particular way. Slides properly stored are really good ways to preserve color and everything else, but they're heavy. No, if you store them properly and they were good quality to begin with, they do last. They do last. They have to be stored. They have to be stored.
Mine have been in a cupboard in the dark for 40 years, and they're all those starting. I get them out, and they're all lost all the color, lost all the light, or they're gone light. You can't.
These are your slides. Your slides.
Yeah, I got 4,000 slides, and probably 2,000 of them are useless.
Yeah, I've got 50-year-old slides that are absolutely. Yeah, I've got 50-year-old ones that are in extremely good condition. But I kept
Kodachrome is archival.
Yeah.
But you can bring your Ektachrome ones back on the computer if you scan them properly.
Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah. But then you're down to the other thing. Anyways, but that's, I mean, even images are the real are an issue here. I do like the idea, though, that of the WordPress cataloging, that was for just convenience.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really
and good. For flexibility. I thought that was really quite quite clever, Steve. That was
Thank you.
really good.
It has the advantage too. Of
It's
being
okay if
able
your
to
name is
share your
Steve Sol,
collection.
you know what you're doing, you see, so that's all right.
I mean, I collect for myself, obviously, we all do, but it's nice to be able to share your collection with other collectors. And
Yeah.
WordPress is perfect for that.
Yeah.
Right,
We've gone a little bit longer than
all the
usual.
time.
So we might finish up there. Now, I actually don't yet have a subject for the next one in 2 weeks' time. I did have on my notes, one of the things that we said we would look at talking about at some stage was storage and presentation. So maybe we can slot that in and have another interactive one. I think this has been really good.
Very good
So
meeting. Yeah.
if you want to do that, then there's no pressure on anybody to try and get something
Just
set up beforehand.
speaking of presentation, this is
Oh,
my
yes.
latest version of my mount. So I have 3D printed a mount for this specimen because there's no way I could get it to stand up otherwise. So I'm really happy with that.
So Paul,
Wow.
would you like to do something on that in 2 weeks' time?
No. Yeah, sure. Look, yeah, why not?
Cool. We'll put you down for
We'll have a
3D
chat.
print. How to 3D print your mounts for your minerals.
Yeah, it's a steep learning curve.
Yeah, it's not one I'm going to
I'm
go
getting
down.
there to completing my minerals and mines of the Midlands of England. Probably maybe 6 weeks time, something like that.
Yep.
But not the first Tuesday of the month. That coincides with our club meeting. So
Yeah,
I'm afraid it's going to be calcite fluorite and not a lot else. I'm afraid on that one. That's
all right.
That's about all there is up in the middle of the country.
Unless I'm giving full instructional videos on how to use Fusion 360 and 3D printing, I think my session would be a little short. So I'm happy to contribute. But yeah,
No, that's fine. We will do one on just storage / presentation.
Yeah.
Generally, and that can form a part of it. It's quite a useful thing to hear about, even if people don't go down that path themselves.
Knowing what's possible is half the battle.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Well, we might finish up then, and I'll get the video hopefully sorted. Christina, apologies, your time zone didn't work for you, but you'll have to watch the video. And talk to you all soon.
Yeah. Cheers.
All right.
Bye.
Take care, everyone. Take care.